back to another episode of Survival Time. We finna get into a nigga named Chris Bender. I ain't never heard of the bro before. All I know is he a singer from back in the day. Uh, Apparently his life got cut short, but we finna see why. Like I said, I don't really know him. So 9 times out of 10, if he from like the 90s and shit, that mean he was probably like doing New Jack Swing and shit like that. But we gonna see what the fuck is up. Find out where he from and shit.
You know, every state gives birth to great entertainers who end up becoming megastars and some become falling stars. Let's take a look at the state Massachusetts, right? They had artists like New Edition, New Kids on the Block, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, Ray Benzino and Made Men, Aerosmith, Donna Summer, Guru from Gang Starr, Meghan Trainor, and many more, right?
Stay your bitch ass out of jail, nigga, then you ain't gotta worry about getting molested, nigga. But I wanna say this right quick. I did not know that Guru was from fucking Massachusetts. I thought that nigga was from New York. My fault, y'all, but go ahead.
But there was one artist who some say was supposed to be the next big thing coming up in that New Jack Swing era, named Chris Bender. And in 1991, that New Jack Swing sound was dominating the charts. And if Chris Bender would have had the chance to release more albums during that time period, I know he would have been one of the top artists. Now let's get into his story, right? Now, Chris Bender was born August 2nd, 1972 in Boston, Massachusetts. He was the youngest of 6 children to his father, Andrew, who was a construction worker, and his mother, Betty Ann Bender, who was a nurse's aide. Now, growing up in Brockton, his family was deeply devoted to church, and by the age of 10 years old, Chris realized he had a singing voice. But at that time, his family didn't know he could sing until one day he started singing the song Amazing Grace on Thanksgiving Day and had everybody in tears. As a youngster, some of the artists he was influenced by were Michael Jackson, Prince, Marvin Gaye, Sam Cooke, and especially New Edition, who came from Boston, which was 20 miles from where he grew up. At the age of 12 years old, he ended up meeting a guy named Bobby Jones, who owned a studio in his neighborhood, and they started to work on music together. Now see, Bobby Jones helped Chris develop his singing voice and would give him advice on and schooling him to the music game, telling him that the girls gonna go crazy for him, but be careful and stay away from the bad boys because they gonna hate and they will not like your music or you. Now see, during that time in the Crescent Court housing projects in Brockton, it was dangerous. It was full of drugs, drug dealers, heavy gang activity, and a lot of violence. And Chris was trying to focus on his music so he can move his family out of there. And Chris had his share of getting in trouble with the law growing up. And he had a long rap sheet. And at the age of 14, Chris with his 2 brothers and his 2 cousins formed a singing group called Steady Life and started performing in clubs around their city. But at the age of 16, he was kicked out of Brockton High in the 10th grade after a fight. After his junior year, Chris had enough and dropped out. Now out of school, Chris told his parents he wanted to pursue a music career to escape the street life. Focused on his music, he headed to New York to meet with talent agents and A&Rs and ended up meeting a guy named Earl Williams, who became his manager and got him a deal with Epic Records. In 1989, he released his self-titled album with the debut single titled Baby Girl. But Epic Records really didn't show any support of the album, and limited copies of the album were released. In a video for the song Baby Girl, was never released, so the album really didn't sell anything. And also by him being new to the industry, he got taken advantage of in his contract. But Chris, he never gave up on his dream. He was determined to make it. And that's when he ended up meeting a guy named Terrell Calloway. Now, Terrell Calloway was one of the first black promoters to bring a black entertainment market to the white-owned clubs in downtown Boston at the time. And him and Chris became close, like a big brother, little brother type of relationship. And Chris never told Terrell about his criminal cases or the life he lived in the past because he was trying to put all that behind him. He was ashamed of it. And he feared it might mess up their business relationship.
I'm pausing right quick because I want to say this. I fuck with this nigga. He a real nigga. He thinking and he on his motherfucking feet. I don't know how long he lasted, but we finna see as far as we going. But I fuck with that fact that he trying to hide that shit. He not playing that shit up. He not trying to make it a thing. He actually trying to get away from it. And I respect that. He trying to make an actual change in his life. I be trying to say this about niggas. Like, it's other ways of going about and doing shit. Chasing your dream. Doing whatever you got to do to get your way out of that mentality. Out of that situation. But we gonna keep it going, shit.
Because at that time, Chris's criminal record showed a dozen of arrests, including 6 charges filed in one day after being pulled over for driving without a license, registration, and proof of insurance. He was also being charged for breaking and entering, assault and battery with a deadly weapon, 2 counts of possession of cocaine with intent to distribute, and for alleged involvement in a drive-by shooting. I mean, that's what the police say anyway. And
God damn, I thought he was a fucking R&B singer. I noticed the motherfucking 90s. Like, y'all let me know how deep it was back then. Like, was it this goddamn crazy? He, niggas, the niggas in church, bro. Like, he going from church and robbing niggas and being a dope boy. Like, come on, bro. That shit wild as hell. Another thing is shit. This shit funny as fuck. And it ain't even to make it seem like he weak or nothing. It's just more so the fact that he's doing all of this shit and trying to be an R&B singer. He not trying to be a rapper. He trying to be an R&B singer. He trying to make music about love and shit. Like, that's crazy to me.
They claimed Chris was in a lot of trouble and had cases pending. But anyway, now, with a new manager, Chris went back to work to get a better contract and a better record deal. And he ended up meeting with Sylvia Rhone, who was running East West Records at that time. I think at that time she might have had signed En Vogue, Gerald Levert, and Das EFX. And you know, Sylvia Rhone loved Chris's music and really believed he was about to be the next big thing. And she signed him to a 7-album contract for $500,000. Now with a new record deal, Chris hit the studio and began laying down songs.
I'm finna say this. She raped the fuck out of him. You don't sign no 7 fucking album contract with nobody, nigga. No fucking body, nigga. She just raped the fuck out of him and he don't even know this shit.
Songs with him doing most of the writing. He also moved out of his neighborhood in Brockton and got a place in Waltham after taking his manager's advice to leave the hood. Now, even though Chris left the hood, he was always going back and hanging out because his family and friends were still there. But he was trying to stay out of trouble and straighten up and take his music career to another level. And on July 9th, 1991, Chris released his second album titled Drake, which hit number 92 on the Billboard magazine R&B album chart. The first single, I Knew, peaked at number 43 on the Billboard's R&B singles charts, staying on the charts for 10 weeks. And his second single, titled That's Not the Way, broke into the top 70 on the Hot R&B singles chart. A couple other songs that the fans loved were Who Will I Choose and Kiss and Make Up. That album, though, it took him on tour. Now rising as one of the new top young R&B stars in the industry, Chris was on his way, and his record label and his managers was all behind him 100%. But see, Chris was from the streets, and he didn't like all that hanging out with the celebrities in the industry. He'd rather go hang out in the hood where he's from. He just felt much more comfortable there. But with success comes hate and jealousy. especially from the cops, believe it or not.
Anyway, nigga, I want to say this real quick while this shit happening. Comfort kills, nigga. Like, that's the number one killer of man. Comfort. Don't ever stay where you comfortable, because where your comfort zone is gonna always hold you back. Then that's in real time. Like, you'll never get nowhere if you don't get out your comfort zone, because everywhere is gonna be uncomfortable for you as far as what you're not familiar with. Just because you're not familiar with something don't mean it's not better for you, and it don't mean that you're not leveling up. It just means you new to this shit and you don't understand it. Instead of like trying to go back to what you know, you need to keep progressing and keep going with the flow, my nigga.
The cops are real jealous. Plus, on top of that, the people from the neighborhood, they hated that all the kids looked up to him and he was now doing something positive. And he had a lot of power. And he was also trying to get back into church. But the police took that as him being a gang leader though. And the hate for him was getting out of control because weeks earlier, he got into a fight with two guys and he filed charges to the police after shots were fired at his car while he was driving. His cousin was shot and killed months earlier, and another cousin was shot a year before that. He had a lot of beef coming his way. I mean, he had some words with a guy named Sticks, and a week later, the guy told Chris's cousin Jesse that he was going to get him and Chris. And on November 3rd, 1991, around 2 a.m. sometime, Chris came to visit his mom and have a bowl of ice cream. Afterwards, Chris and his cousin Jesse were listening to some music, talking and smoking weed in his blue Mercedes-Benz when they heard a shot. Then they heard 20 to 30 more shots towards his car from 3 men in black hoodies. Chris jumped on his cousin, shielded him, protecting him. When it was over, Chris was shot 4 times in the back, once in the torso and in the elbow, and later died in the hospital. His cousin that was in the car with him was unharmed. After his death, the police on his case really didn't have too many good things to say about Chris. In the newspaper, they were trying to describe him as a drug dealer. He may have been engaged in illicit activity, or someone may have wanted to settle an old score, or he may have stiffed somebody in a drug deal.
Fuck them niggas. Fuck them niggas and they can eat a dick. For one, it don't matter what it was or what the situation was. A young man was killed. For two, he was changing his life around. He was doing some positive shit. My nigga was really trying to like zone into his music and shit. You know, I really want to react to his shit now because I never heard it, bro. And to see he was a real nigga like that, he sacrificed himself for his cousin. Like, that's real, man. Like, I can't even, all you can do is like salute him. Like, rest in peace to this young man.
That's what they said in the newspaper about Chris, but Chris's family say if the cops were doing their job, patrolling and policing the area, Chris would probably still be alive. Chris was changing his life and doing positive things at that time. His manager said that the word on the street was that the shooters didn't know Chris was in the car because Chris had tinted windows and it was dark. They just wanted to shoot his car up, and the murder was an accident. A week before he was killed, he was supposed to go to Atlanta and start working on his next album. And on November 9th, 1991, over 500 relatives and friends attended and mourned at his funeral. And the police did end up catching those guys though. The suspects, Timothy Lucas, was convicted of second-degree murder in the killing, but was granted parole in January 2015. Eroy Kendall was found guilty of second-degree murder, but was paroled in 2008. Kevin Bynum was found guilty of being an accessory after the fact of second-degree murder and sentenced to 5 years to 7 years in prison. He served that term and was released. Kevin Bynum was found guilty of being an accessory after the fact of second-degree murder and sentenced to 5 to 7 years in prison. He served that term and was released. And Ernest Lucky Fernandez was convicted of first-degree murder also. But you know, Chris Bender's music is still being played today in the 90s throwback mixes. So make sure y'all go check his music out on.
I've never heard of this man a day in my life, but I'm finna go listen to his motherfucking music. I'm blue that all the niggas got out on some goofy shit because at the end of the day, they took this young man's life. They took his life. They took him out of here. And it's really fucked up because I keep saying this as far as like we be cutting ourselves out of things and we be the one plucking each other out of here. For what? For what? Like, it be over goofy shit. But niggas be talking all that shit in the comments and this, that, and the third. Like, it be the dumbest shit going on. And people will defend shit like this. And this is what I be saying. You can't really run from your past, bro. It's always gonna catch up to you some way, somehow. But like, this is why you gotta watch what you do in life and how you handle people and what's going on around you. Always be cautious of your surroundings because shit. Had the nigga like looked around his car or something like that, looked through his windows or something like that, he could have probably seen them niggas coming.
Hey, gotta know your purpose, understand what worth is. These niggas is lurking, observing, trying to close your curtains. These hoes be perping. OG told me, but watch your back. Hey, these niggas bound to attack. Gotta know your purpose, understand what worth is. These niggas is lurking.